Okay, good evening, everyone. As we welcome in everybody, tonight we learn specially L'Ilui Neshmas Menachem Mendel ben Chaim, Saba's father. I believe Saba is saying Kaddish for him for 65 years. 65 years. His neshama should have a big aliyah. He should be a melitz yosher for our family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. He should have a lichtige Gan Eden. We are also sponsored, of course, by A.B. Spry. You know, there's about 5 hours left to the ceasefire, unless Hamas comes up with another 10 names. And either way, there should be a nitzachin and rescue and safety for all of Klal Yisrael. We learn for Issa Zev ben Yuta, Shimon Klein, Lila Nishmas Asher Ansel ben Yehuda, Gittel Bas Shimon Pinchas, Irving Fishman, Lefut Shalema for Issa ben Razel, for Avigdor Aya ben Rivka, for Meir ben Chayesar. They should all have a Lefut Shalema b'Sech Shechel Yisrael. Here we are welcoming in Menachem Yemansky, Irving Fishbaum. Oh, Marshall Castle decides to show up. Stephen Holtzman, Shimon Klein, Mel Zachter, Yitzi Muller, Barish Gesseman, Eddie Chazan, Aaron Swade. Oh, long lost Mark Frankel, Michal, Nachman Chapler, Dr. Guy, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Naftali Javelin, Rabbi Kranz, Jay Siegel. Here in Shul, we are very fortunate to have Reb Blumenfeld. It's really great to have you. Have I told you that yet? And Gedalia Engel, and who's there? Oh, Yitzchak Buchinger, Rich Lenner, Ruvain Shannon, and Saba Baruch Ian has just came in. Gedalia who? Who's there? Oh, Avram Shankman. Okay, it's wonderful to see you, Avram. It's wonderful to see you. We welcome in David Helfgott, joining us on Kol HaLashon. We are holding with a grim case. It's a grim case, 5 lines from the bottom. 5 lines from the bottom as we welcome in Mordechai Sultan and Pesach Siegelman. Pesach, I'm sorry you couldn't stay, but it's good to have you. Rabbi Kranz has just joined us. And Mordechai Sultan. Okay, we begin with a grim case. V'amar Rabba, Zorak Tinik Mirosh Hagag. If Chatzkel throws a baby off the rooftop, Uba Achar, and Shmuel comes, V'kibloi b'sayif, and impales the child on the way down with a knife. Whoa, pretty grim stuff, right? It's Chatzkel threw the baby off the roof, and Shmuel catches the child, impaling him with a knife. So there's no question about it that Shmuel hastened the baby's death. So the question is, there's an interesting diak in a pasuk. It's a very interesting diak in the words of the pasuk. The pasuk says, Kol nefesh adam. So the question is, do you have to be responsible for the entire life or any part of the life? So if you're, what is it, hastening or hastening? Hastening, right? So if you're hastening the child's death, so you're not chayiv for kol nefesh adam. You didn't do the whole thing, but you did do part of it. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir darshans kol nefesh adam, any part. Kol means any part. So therefore, since he hastened the death, he's responsible for any part of the death. He brought it quicker, right? So then he would be chayiv. So that's what the Gemara says over here. The Gemara tells us, plukta Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir rabbanan. The question if Shmuel who catches the baby with a knife is chayiv, is a machlokes Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir and Rabbanan. The Tanya, as we welcome in Dr. Block, the Tanya, hikuhu asara b'nei odam b'asara maklas. If 10 people hit Chatzkel with 10 sticks, 10 clubs, they clubbed Chatzkel to death. Poor Chatzkel. Bein b'bazachas, whether they did it all at the same time, bein b'zachas, or one after another, kulan peturin. Now, if they do it all at the same time, the reason why they're all patur is we don't know which one killed them. One of them gave the killing blow, but we don't know which one. Since we don't know which one, they're all patur. Where it's one after another, still the Rabbanan hold their patur, because the last one only hastened the death. After the last one, he died. But he hastened it. So it's not kol nefesh adam. He wasn't responsible for the whole thing. So therefore he's patur. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir, if it's one after another, so the last one hastened the person's death. He hastened the death. Now therefore, in such a case, Rabbi Yehuda holds that kol nefesh adam means he's responsible for any part of the soul of the person. So even though he didn't do the whole thing, but he's the one that brought about the death, and therefore he is the one that's going to be chayiv. So therefore the one that catches the baby on the sayif would be chayiv. Yes?
What's the difference in this? Why don't we say mana tefillah?
So here we don't say mana tefillah tava because the bottom line is that human life is valuable till the last second. On the way down, he could have done tshuva and saved his entire life, so he still had value. Here we don't say mana tefillah tava. Yes.
If they all did it at the same time, then why are they all patur as opposed to each one being 1/10 responsible?
No, but here we're talking about the death penalty. Can't give each of them a tenth of a death penalty.
Oh, but the example with the sword, when he hastened the death, he was partially responsible.
Right, but he's the one that brought about the death. That's the difference. Now,
can I ask something on that too?
yeah.
How's it different than somebody throwing?
If a person kills a treifa, I don't think he's chayav.
So that's also a big question. Whether we say on killing a treifa, if a person Adim, for example, that testify about a treifa, whether we would put the Adim to death because of Gavra Ketila Katel. That's a question. That's a question. But here, it's because there's a fatal flaw in the person that he cannot live. Until the person gets onto the ground, somebody might catch him. Now, as we welcome in Jay Siegel from Facebook to the Zoom, good move. Richard Rosenzweig should do the same thing, but it's good to have him even over here.
Open for a question quickly.
1 second, Ruvain Shannon had a question. What's your question?
How's this different than somebody throwing, say, a vase off a roof and somebody hitting the vase before it?
We're talking about a human life over here.
You're right, but he would hit the ground anyway.
Right.
He's on his way down. The baby's on his way down. He's going to hit the floor. He's going to die.
Again, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir holds the one that hastens the death is chayav. Now, what happens if a shark catches the baby with its horns? So here, it's an interesting thing. Again, the shar hastened the baby's death. Now, the Gemara, as Rashi inserts, we're talking about a sharamuad. And therefore, the question is whether the owner of the shar has to pay kaifer. So here the Gemara says a very interesting thing. The Tanya, v'nosan pidya nafshay. Now the question is, pidya nafshay, when the owner of the shor has to pay kaifer, it says he gives a redemption of the soul, his soul. His soul, meaning the soul of the victim, or the soul of the owner of the shor for the crime that he paid. So one mandiyama says, one mandiyama says, Demei Nizik, the value of the child. Rabbi Yishmael ben Oisha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breikaimer, Demei Mazik, the value of the owner of the shor. Now, so therefore, if it's the value of the child has no value, because the child was going to die anyway. If it's the value of the owner of the shor, we could say that the owner of the shor is guilty because it ushered in the death of the child, and therefore then you would have to pay the value to ransom him for his not being careful with the shor. V'amar Rabba, Nafal, this is an unbelievable case. I mean, when we talk about theoretical Gemara, this is a perfect example of theoretical Gemara. And you notice, Marshall, notwithstanding that you stood us up last night, notwithstanding, I've been giving you a break tonight.
Well, it was a great hockey game. What can I tell you?
Okay. V'amar Rabba. I don't want to upset.
I just blew my brain.
I don't.
I was not at the hockey game last night, so let's just get that clear. My shard was nowhere near the hockey game.
I want to tell you something. I would never be chayshid you. Never be chayshid
I
you.
got tickets for a Flyers game. Come to Chicago. We'll go.
I am telling you. V'amar Rabba. Nafal mirosh hagag. Chatzkel falls off the roof. V'niska be'isha. And he lands on a woman, and on his landing, he was wearing a cloak. And his cloak flew up in the wind, and he had relations with the woman on the way down. So says the Gemara, chayiv b'daled devarim. He's chayiv. Now, the reason why he's chayiv in daled devarim, you'll say, well, that was an accident. He did. But it's talking about where he fell in a ruach mitzuya, Rashi says. And therefore, since he fell in a ruach mitzuya, it's something that he should have anticipated. Because remember, we said that you're only chayiv in daled devarim if it's amazing, right? You're only chayiv nezek if it's unwitting, right? So here it's considered amazing, Rashi says, because he fell in a normal wind. So Rashi says that's considered korav l'mezid, enough that he should be chayiv daled devarim. Now the daled devarim is precluding boishus. That's why it's daled devarim. Because boishus is only done if there was intent. And here there wasn't intent. Ubiyavim toiloi kana. Now this is fascinating. If he has relations, what happened is that Reuven was married to Sarah, died childless, and Shimon is on the top of the roof, and he falls on Sarah, penetrating her, right? He does not fulfill the mitzvah of Yibam. Why? Because even though it says that you fulfill the mitzvah of Yibam, bein b'shoigeg, bein b'mezid, but you have to have a kavanah for bia. Here, he didn't have a kavanah for bia, and therefore, he doesn't acquire the yavam. Now, what are the daled devarim? Chayiv b'nezek, damages, tsar, pain, ripui, medical bills, sheves, temporary unemployment, aval boishus lay, but not for humiliation. The Tanan Ein Chayiv Al Abayshis Ad Shei Mischaven, until there was intent. Here there was Karv Lamezid, but there was no intent. Now, talking today to my wonderful chaver, Dr. Yitzchak Kurtzer, he told me he had on the side of his Gemara a shaila from Ramosha in the Dibros, not in the Igros, in the Dibros. It's a wonder. It's so amazing. Ramosha declares what happens if from this penetration she becomes pregnant and she has a child. Is there still a mitzvah of Yibam? That's a great question.
What do you mean if there's members of him?
Wouldn't the child be a mamzer?
Oh, he declares that too.
It should be, because if he's not going to the Isha,
He
then
declares
it's
that.
not through Yibam.
He declares that too, right? But Pashta should be Eishes Achshar Leibim Kai Mitzvah.
That's right.
That's what he says. But the bigger shaila is there still a mitzvah of Yibam afterwards? Because since we just said that he doesn't fulfill Yibam with this beer, so l'chayra, there's still a mitzvah Yibam afterwards. It comes out an amazing thing. It's a riddle sheba riddles. Where could you have a mitzvah of lahakim la'achiv shame after there's already a child? It's quite a remarkable difference. It's really, you hear the shayla? Yitzchak. It's a guy in the shayla.
Well, the same thing would be if he was koiner.
Makes you think,
Was he
doesn't it?
yoyt to the mitzvah? Because mitzvah should...
He wasn't kaina. He wasn't kaina. It wasn't kaina.
Why is it the koiner?
He's not kaina because without the kavanah, he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah of Yibam.
Who says that?
Rashi.
Koiner.
No. He says that's what it says. He's not kainar. Really is a Gainish question. V'amarabba Nafal Mirosh Hagag, if he falls from the roof, Baruch She'ena Mitzuya. Oh, here it was something that he couldn't anticipate. Right? It was a Ruach She'ena Mitzuya. A hurricane came. V'hizik ubayish. He did damage. He humiliated her. So here, Chayiv ala Nezek, he's only Chayiv Nezek, because remember we said that if it's not Mazid or Karv Lamazid, you're not Chayiv for Tzar, Ripa, Shevis, and Baishas. So he's Chayiv ala Nezek, Potter B'dal Dvarm. Beruach Mitzuya v'hizik ubayish. If it's a Ruach Mitzuya and he did damage and he humiliated, Chayiv B'dal Dvarm, he's Chayiv with the 4, but a Potter ala Baishas. He's Potter for the Baishas, because there, you're only chayiv for baishas if you intended. Here he didn't intend. However, the imnis hafeich, if he in the descent, he flipped himself around in order to fall on the woman, in order to cushion his fall. So here he had intent to fall on the woman, and this is going to be a big side in Bava Kama. If he turned himself around, chayiv af ala baishas. Then he's chayiv even for the humiliation, because for humiliation, you don't need to intend to humiliate. You just have intent for this woman. So in the first case, where he was negligent, and he should have anticipated that he would fall in a normal wind, he didn't have intent for the woman. He just is chayiv because he was karv lamezin. But here, when he flips himself in the air in order to fall on her to cushion the fall, he had intent for the woman. Once he has intent for the woman, that's enough to be chayiv in baishas, even though he doesn't have intent to embarrass. And that's what the Gemara says. Im nisapeh chayiv afal baishas, the Tanya memash mishenemer v'shilcha yada, when she stretched out her hand, v'chzika b'mavushav, and she grabbed him in his embarrassing part. Eini yoidea she'chzika. Don't we know that she took hold of him? That's the idea of v'shilcha yada. So it should have just said v'shilcha yada b'mavushav. Why does it say v'chzika b'mavushav? Ma'atam loimer v'chzika. Loimer lach keven sheniskaven lahazik. As long as she had intent to damage, afal pi shalei niskaven levayish, even though she didn't have intent to humiliate, that's enough to be chayiv for humiliation. V'amar Rabba, haniach lo yacheles alibay. If somebody put a coal on Chatzkel's heart, Chatzkel's really getting the raw end tonight.
Better him than me.
You owe me big time, Buster. You owe me 6 hockey games.
Okay, I got tickets. Come on.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you know what they say about somebody that admits to his sins in public. I don't know, Mark.
What do you call sin?
I would make distance. Take a page from Baruch Ian. He always stays at least 2 boxes away from Marshall. Always. Shelley is a half a mile.
Bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. Okay. Now.
Because we were watching hockey.
He doesn't even know what hockey is. Well, I'm a rabbi. I'm a hockey. Baruch knows from soccer. He doesn't know from hockey. V'amar Rabba, haniach lo yacheles alibay. If we put a coal on Chatzkel's heart, umeis, and he dies, pater. Now the reason why he's pater is he's a sentient being. He should have taken the coal off. Al bigdai v'nisraf. Ooh, here's an interesting thing. If you put a coal on his garment and he lets it burn, chayiv. Now, why didn't you say, well, you should have taken it off? So by his clothing, he could say, listen, I didn't take it off. I know you'll pay for it. I want to get new clothing. You put it on, you're going to pay. Amarava, travayu tanani. Both these ideas are in Mishnayos. Alibay ditnan kavish olav l'seicha or. If you hold somebody down in the fire, or you hold him down in the water, and he burns or he drowns, and he can't lift his head and he drowns or he can't get out of the fire and he burns, omeis chayiv, you're chayiv. But if you push him in the fire or push him in the water and he could come out, but he decides not to, umeis pater, you're pater. So here we see that if the person could get out and he doesn't, you're not going to be chayiv for that. Big day. But how do we know that if you put a coal on a person's clothing and he just lets it burn, how do you know that you're still chayiv? Tichnan, if a person tells you, Kora es ksusi, rip my clothing, shavar es kadi, break my pitcher, and you do it, chayiv. So you say, but you told me to do it. Yeah, I told you to do it and pay. So even if he tells you to do it and you do it, you got to pay. So here, where you did it, you surely got to pay. You'll say, why didn't you take it off? Well, I didn't tell you to do it. Even if I tell you to do it, you got to pay. See here, I didn't tell you to do it. I just didn't take it off. You have to pay. But if I say I'll manas lift her, if you do it, then I exempt you, then potter. Oh, now the plot thickens. This is very interesting. As we welcome in Avi Ament. Avi Ament for our 28th Zoomer of the evening, and Avi is our sponsor for tonight's Chumash. So here, what happens over here is, Marshall, let's take Marshall out of jail. Boy Rabba.
Thank you.
As we welcome in Yitzi Padower. Boy Rabba. Haniach kacheles alev avdoi. What happens if Marshall puts a coal on Beresh's servant's chest, and the servant doesn't take it off? Neither does Beresh. Mao, what's the din? Do we say it's kegufay dami? Now, although Marshall is not going to be chayiv misa, because the Eved should have taken it off his chest, but do we say that it's like the body, and therefore Marshall is going to be exempt for paying for the slave, because he'll say you should have taken it off, as we say, by a body? Or is it viewed like Beresh's money, where Beresh could say, look, you got to pay for it, just like you would have to pay if you put it on my suit? Now, imtim solayme kegufay dami, that we say it's like a body, and Marshall is not chayiv, shoyroi mao. What if he puts a coal on the axe? What's the din then? Right? So, as Rashi says, by the axe, there's a svara to say that the axe doesn't have das to remove it. You can't say the axe should have shook it off. Hodar pashta, and that's indeed how the Gemara resolves it. Avdai kigufay. And therefore Marshall is exempt for paying for the Eved because it should have been removed, and therefore, if it's not, he's not chayiv. Shoyrei kimamaynai, and therefore Marshall has to pay Beresh for the shard. Hanrulach ketzad regel, hanrulach ketzad regel, hanrulach ketzad regel. Next Mishnah takes many people back to their school days. Hamaniach es hakad b'rishus harab. Marshall is finally waking up. Marshall leaves a jug in the Rishus Harabim.
Who went to school?
Not you. Hamaniach es hakad b'rishus harabim. Marshall put a jug in the Rishus Harabim. Ubo achar, and Avi comes, v'niskalba, trips on it, v'shavra, and breaks it. Now, the svara is, what's Marshall doing putting pictures in the Rishus Harabim? And therefore, Avi,
That's what I'm doing.
therefore Avi, who trips and breaks it, is potter. V'im hozek ba, but if Avi hurts himself on it, then balachav yischai, then the owner of the picture is chayiv b'niskai. Now, the Gemara is going to ask, I don't understand, what is the Mishnah starting off with kad and ending off with chavyas? Kad is a pitcher, a chavyas is a barrel. You know, what's going on? Secondly, we really have to understand, why is Marshall chayiv for Avi hurting himself? If it's bar, we know shar v'loy adam, chamar v'loy kelim. Right? So we're going to discuss all of this in detail in the ensuing Gemaras. But first the Gemara says right away, could you tell us this textual problem? Pasach b'kad, it starts off with a pitcher, b'sayim b'chavyas, and ends off with a barrel. But Tanan Nami, and we had this is not the only time the Mishnayos does this. But Tanan Nami, Zeba b'kavita, one is walking with a barrel, Dr. Block is walking with a barrel. The Zeba b'kairasai, and Rabbi Kranz is walking with a beam. Opposite him, they're both walking on 13th Avenue. Nishber kadei shel zeh b'karasei shel zeh. If Dr. Black's picture gets damaged with Rabbi Kranz's beam, potter, because they're both walking bereshus, and therefore the onus is on Dr. Black to avoid banging into Rabbi Kranz's beam. So here we have Pasap Chavis. The Mishnah starts off with a pitcher, V'sayim Mekad, and starts off with a barrel and ends up with a pitcher. The Tanah Nami, we have it a third time. Zeba b'chavita shel yain. If Ruvain is walking with a barrel of wine, v'zeba b'kadei shel dvash, and Nachman is carrying a pitcher of honey, nistega chavya shel dvash. If the barrel of honey breaks, v'shafach zeh yainai, and Ruvain pours out his wine, because honey is more expensive than wine. So Ruvain pours out his wine, v'hitzel es advash, and saves Nachman's dvash, l'seichai. Ruvain can't claim from Nachman the money of the wine. He could only claim for reimbursement for his time and the use of his barrel. Ein lo yela schara. So here again, it keeps on going back from kad to chavius. Pasach b'kad, it starts with a picture, v'sayim b'chavius. So Amar Papa says, well, hainu kad, hainu chavius. They both refer to a picture. L'may nafkamina, l'mekach hamemker. It's for business. That if you buy a chavius, the person could give you a picture. So the Gemara says, hey chidami, ilay mabasu the kad loy kari chavius. That a kad is not called a chavius, but chavius like karakada. In other words, one's a pitcher, one's a barrel, and they're not one is not called the other. So then that can't be the halacha. Haloi karila. Says the Gemara, loy tzricha the ruba karla lekada kada. The majority of people call a pitcher, ulachavita chavita, a barrel. Ve'ikenami de karla chavita kada. There are also those that call a chavita kada. There are also those that call a chavius a pitcher, ulekada chavita, and a pitcher a chavius. So now the same. I might think zil basaruba, you should go according to the majority. And if I said give me a chavius, and you just give me a pitcher, I could say, but I said a chavius, and the majority of the people call a chavius a barrel, not a pitcher. Kamash Malan, that by money we don't go after Rive. Kamash Malan, the Ein Holchin B'Maman Achar Rive. So now, as we start the top of Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, it's good that we're going at a normal clip tonight because we have a Chumash here. Tonight's order is going to be the Chumash here first, and then the Mishnah Yomis. That's what we're going to do tonight. I wasn't here between Mincha and Ma'ariv, so I didn't do the Mishnah Yomis yet, so I have to do the Mishnah Yomis, but we'll do it after the Chumash here.
You planning another chaf this week too?
Either tomorrow night or Motzei Shabbos, Be'ezus Hashem. I'm not sure which one. So the Mishnah says, Uba achar v'niskalba, if, as we said, Marshall put down a pitcher on 13th Avenue, Avi tripped on it v'shibra and broke it potter. So now the Gemara says, I don't understand. We have a rule, a person is supposed to watch where he's going. So why don't we say that Avi should have watched where he's going? And that's what the Gemara asks. Amai potter, he should have looked where he was going. Now, the truth of the matter is there's a lot of things over here that we could throw out. One of them is that we learned that if one person is Mishana, Uba'achar Vishina, he's Potter. So already Marshall was Mishana, because he put a picture on 13th Avenue. Avi is ba'ach avishina, he should be pater. Remember, that's the case of the animal, Marshall's animal, sprawling out on 13th Avenue. Right? There's another svara, that if you put something as a public nuisance, so then people are not chayiv if they damage a public nuisance. So there's a lot of svaras over here, but the Gemara doesn't say either of these two things, which is questionable. Why not? But Imrei debei Rav says, Mishmei de Rav, b'mamale rishus harabim kula kavius, where Avi filled up the whole street with his pictures. So therefore there was nowhere for Avi to walk. And Avi is allowed to walk. And since Avi is allowed to walk, if he trips, he's not chayiv. Now the Gemara is going to say that this is a difficult pshat, because then Avi should be pater even if he breaks it deliberately, because he's allowed to plow his way through. Can't block up the Rishus Harabim. Okay, but anyway, that's Rav's answer. Shmuel Amar ba'afela shanu. It was in the dark, and that's why he's pater, because he couldn't see. There was no full moon out. Rabbi Yochanan Amar b'keren zavius, which it was at the turn of the corner, and therefore there was no way for Avi to anticipate it and see, because as he turned, he tripped on it. Amar Papa lo'deika masnisin ela oike Shmuel oike Rabbi Yochanan. The Mishnah doesn't fit except like Shmuel, who says it was in the dark, or like Rabbi Yochanan that was on the corner. The Ika Rav, because if it's going like Rav, then Avi should be pater even if he breaks it intentionally. Ma'yer Yaniskel afilu shavar nami, because he has a right to walk through 13th Avenue. So Rav Zid answers that. You're right. Oh wow, we have more people coming in. We have 31 people now, Marshall. I would get on the phone.
I'm thirsty. I don't know if I can get to the phone that fast.
I would get on the phone, Marshall. 31 people. 31 people.
Get off the wagon.
You know, if I grant you the 8 people here in the shul, it's 39. You're getting closer.
Getting there.
You're getting closer.
Like Malchus.
That's a good idea. Now, Amrav Zvid Mishmei de Rava, the truth of the matter is, even if Avi deliberately stepped on it, he would be pater. Who adin afilu shavar. V'aydik tani niskal, and that which it says he tripped on it, it's because it wants to say, Aidi debay lemisnei seifa v'im huzik ba. If he gets damaged when he tripped on it, Bal chav yischayev, the owner of the barrel is chayev in iskay, the dafka niskal, that's only if he tripped on it, aval shavar, but if he broke it deliberately and he got hurt on it, there he would be, there Marshall wouldn't be chayiv, because my timer, because who does kanavshe? He did damage to himself by stepping on it, so therefore Katani Reisha also niskal. It says in the Reisha also that he tripped, but Einokanami, where he walked through, even if he deliberately broke it, he would be pater because he has the right to walk in the Rishus Harabim. Amalei Rav Abel Rav Ashi. Hachi Imrei b'Marava. Remember, Eretz Yisrael is called the West because it was the west of Bavel, and since it's the Talmud Bavli, so it calls always Eretz Yisrael Marava. So Amalei Rav Abel Rav Ashi Hachi Imrei b'Marava Mishmei de Rav Ula. So they said in the West in the name Rav Ula, a different reason why Avi is pater. It's not the way of people. People look straight ahead. They don't look down. It's not normal for them to look what's on the ground. They assume there's nothing on the ground. It's the Rishus Harabim. So having Uvda ben Arda, there was an incident in Arda, V'chayiv Shmuel. And Shmuel said that the one that trips on it is chayiv to pay. Now the Gemara will say this Shmuel Shitasai, who says the only time he's pater is if it was in the dark. And this case in Arda wasn't in the dark, and therefore he said he's chayiv to pay. But Pumpadisa. There was an incident in Pumpadisa. V'chayiv Rava. So the Gemara says, Bishleim Shmuel Kishmaitze. He holds that the only reason why Avi was potter is because it was in the dark, so he couldn't see it. But Einachanami in the day he would be chayiv. El Rava, do we say Lema Kishmuel Svirale? Will we say that he's holds like Shmuel? Amar Rapapa says, Karna de Atzrahabe. It was a corner next to the olive press. And during the busy season of the olive press, everyone has permission to keep their barrels there. And therefore, Avi should have looked, since everybody is the cave in the Berushuska of day, he should have looked when he was going. Now we're going to learn a little bit about damage of humiliation. Now I want to give you a little bit of a preface. Knossos, we don't collect in Bava. So for example, Kefil or Dalid Vehei cannot be collected in Bava. Because you can only judge on Knossos penalties if you have Smuchin. And the Dayanim Smuchin were not in Bava. The Gemara is going to extend that also to damages which are not for actual damage, more intangible, like humiliation. And they would say that you can't collect for humiliation in Bavel either. So Shalach le Rav Chisda le Rav Nachman. Rav Chisda sent the following query to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman was a very great judge. The Gemara tells us that Rav Nachman dainahu v'yored l'umkadidina, and he went to the very depth of the law. He was a renowned judge. So the great Rav Chisda sent to Rav Nachman, Hari Omer l'rechuva shalosh. If you knee a person, you have to pay for humiliation 3 slime. Lebeita, if you kick him chamesh, you have to pay 5 slime for humiliation. Lisnoikris, sounds like a snooker, right? Snoikris is if you hit him with the saddle of a donkey, shalish esrin, you have to pay 13 slime. Lepanda demara, if you hit him with the handle of the hoe, or lekapina demara, or the blade of the hoe, mai. So Rav Nachman says, humiliation? This is bavel. You shouldn't be collecting humiliation. Shalach leichista chista knasa kamagvis bavel. Are you collecting for humiliation in bavel? Emily gufa of the Echiavi. Tell me what the story was. What happened over here? Shalach lei, so he sent him dahu gagusa. There was an irrigation canal. Now we have 32 zumers. That's nice. 32 zumers. That's really something. It's really something, and we're still missing people here tonight. You know, somebody should call. Marshall, could you call Philippe and find out where Philippe is? Philippe isn't here.
He just sent me a message yesterday, that he was looking to get back on the shear. I'm not sure why he's not here tonight.
Okay, let's put more pressure on Philippe, and Yisrael Fisher is not here, so I guess his wife came home, Baruch Hashem. That's good. Who else are we missing? We're missing more people here. Anyway, what?
Where's Shimon?
Yeah, Shimon is not here. That's correct. Correct, Shimon is not here.
And Saba's in the shul, so.
Baruch Hashem, Saba's in the shul. It's where he should be.
Urban is, that's where I gotta be.
Very Marshall, what am I going to do here? So anyway, Rav Nachman asked Rav Chisda, tell me what exactly happened over here. Tell me. So he said, Shalach le, Dahu Gargusa, there was an irrigation canal, the Beit Trade, that belonged to two people, to Marshall and to Irving. The Kol Yuma having Doli Chad Minai. They had an arrangement that one day Marshall used it and one day Irving used it. Also Chad Kadoli Biyuma Doli Dilay. What do you think? Marshall came on Irving's day. Amalei, so Irving told him, Yuma Didiu, it's my day. Marshall played dumb and he didn't listen to Irving. So what did Irving do? Shakal Panda Damara, he took the handle of the hoe and machia and hit Marshall in the head. Right? Good for you, Irving. So Amalei, so Rav Nachman said, Meya Pande Bepanda Limchie. Let him hit him 100 times. Even if you hold that you can't take the law in your own hand, but B'makam Pseida, if there's going to be irretrievable loss before you get to the court, over here, if there's not going to be enough water, if Irving is not going to be able to water his stuff, it'll wilt. So here everybody holds that Ovid Dina Nanafshe. Rav Yehuda says Ovid Nafshe. You can't take the law in your own hand. Rav Nachman Amar Ovid Nafshe. You could take the law in your own hand. So the Gemara says, where there's going to be a loss, Kuli Amal Pligi the Ovid Nafshe, like what Irving did. Right, his vegetables are going to wilt, so he gave him a whack. Ki pligi heicha the lekapseda, where there's no loss. Rav Yehuda Eloy Avedish din nafshe. They came in the lekapseda since there's no loss. That's why we have a bezdin. Lazel kamedaina, come before the judge. Rav Nachman Amar Avedish din nafshe. A person could take the law into his own hand. They came in the bedin of it. It's his day. Like Torah, we don't make him trouble to come to Bezdin. Okay, we're going to stop here, Rabbi Isai, and go straight to the Chumash here now without passing go, without collecting $200.